Welcome back to Whole and Healthy Cooking with Chef Val. This is the second part to the video of how to make my tofu cheese ball. So if you haven't watched part 1 yet, please make sure that you go back and watch part 1 because I'm continuing the recipe now after the tofu has been sitting on the counter fermenting 8 to 12 hours. So this is what it looks like now after it's fermented. And it does have that smell of fermented food, kind of like cheese. Whereas before, when I was just frosting the tofu with the miso and everything, really didn't have much flavor. But now I can definitely tell that this has been fermenting. You are going to need a food processor. I'm going to start with 1/4 of a fresh onion that's just lightly chopped. And I'm going to put that in the food processor first. And I'm going to chop it up so it gets chopped into very small pieces. The reason why I do that is because I want the onion flavor to be all through the tofu cheese ball. I don't necessarily want any chunks of onion in there. So by putting it in the food processor first, I have minced up the onions until they're very small pieces. So scrape down the sides. Always make sure you scrape down the sides, get all that onion in there, right? All right. Now you're just going to put this beautiful fermented tofu right into the food processor. I kind of like take my spatula and break it up so it's not in big pieces, and you just scoop it in there like so. That's how you do it. Just scoop it in there like so. You can even make sure that you get all this leftover miso that's on the plate. Put that in there too. All right. So we got all that in there. Now we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of a garlic salt. Okay. And we're going to add 2 tablespoons of tahini. Now tahini is your sesame seed paste. This is where the fat comes in. Earlier I was talking about cheese is naturally fermented, so we fermented the tofu. Cheese is salty, so we have the miso. And cheese has fat, so we have the tahini, which is good quality fat, right, from sesame seeds. And now you puree this in the food processor until it comes together, okay? Now, usually a couple times when I'm making something in a food processor, I do turn the processor off and I like to scrape everything down the sides just to make sure that everything is getting really well mixed in there. All right, let's scrape it down one more time. Now, I also like the processor to do its work. Make sure that processor just goes and let it puree that so that it becomes a smooth consistency. Sometimes people think, oh, it's done. No. You got to let that processor go. You got to make sure that it really purees the ingredients. This is my year-round healthy holiday dishes cookbook. And here's the tofu cheese ball that I always serve at New Year's Eve, right there. Okay, so this has been pureeing for a while. It looks absolutely beautiful. Take a little taste test to make sure the seasoning's good. Oh, that is so good. That just totally reminds me of my mom's tofu cheese ball. It is so good. You know, you got that fermented flavor from the miso and having it sit out. You've got that overall salty flavor, but then you have that bite of that onion. My mom used to put onions in hers. I so remember that. Here's the equipment you're going to need now to form the ball. Plastic wrap. So you want a piece of plastic wrap to help you form it into a ball. Get yourself some type of bowl. Like after I form it into a ball, I put it in this perfect size bowl that's going to help create that shape. And you also want walnuts that are ground up. Now these are walnuts that I had toasted in the fridge. I just put them in a food processor and ground them up because on the outside of the tofu cheese ball is going to be ground walnuts. So you sprinkle some on the plastic wrap like so. So there'll be walnuts on the bottom, right? Okay. So this is a little trick here to get the whole thing covered in walnuts. And then you're going to take this pureed mixture out and you're going to start forming it into a ball. You know what's another great thing about this recipe is that because you naturally fermented it with that miso, this is going to last a long time. Now, I know you're going to eat it up right away because it's so delicious, but it will last in your refrigerator for quite a while because it's been naturally fermented, right? So it'll work that way. I'm just going to use this to get it off the spatula there. Get some utensils. You want to make sure you get all of it out, right? Food processors are just a wonderful addition to your kitchen if you don't have one already because they make things like making this tofu cheese ball really good. If you make other dishes like tofu dips and things like that, you really need a food processor. It really helps. Now, I really like the onion in here. If you're not a fan of onion, you don't have to have the onion in there. You could put a garlic clove in there in place of the onion, and then you'd have more of a garlic flavor in your tofu cheese ball as opposed to the onion flavor. Okay. Now you're just piling it right in the middle for now, and then I'll show you here how to form it. I'm trying to get every last bit out of the food processor. This is so absolutely delicious. Trust me, you're going to want to do that. And then put it there in the middle, like so. Okay, now we've got the tofu cheese ball right in the middle here. And what I do is I take some more of those walnuts and I kind of put them on top because we're going to want to form it into having covered. I might even put some like on the side, like so. All right, so we got it covered in the walnuts pretty much. And then you take the plastic wrap and fold it up, and then fold it up, okay? Fold it up here, like so, and then fold it up here, like so, right? And you kind of just twist it, and you form it into a round. And that's why I said get yourself a bowl ready, because that bowl is going to help when I put it in there like so. And that's it right there. Now you put this in the refrigerator for a good 3-4 hours. It's going to get completely cold, and then when it comes out, it's going to look exactly like this tofu cheese ball right here. You serve it with some healthy organic crackers. You could serve it with some vegetables. You could serve it with some whole grain flat bread. I mean, it's a tofu cheese ball. I mean, it's one of my all-time favorite recipes. I've created thousands of recipes, and there are a few that I really love. This is one of them. So it's a fermented tofu recipe, and we turn it into a tofu cheese ball. Please make this recipe if you get a chance. I think you're really going to like it. Thank you so much for tuning in, And please join the Patreon group where you get unlimited access to all of my cooking videos. It is a streaming video service, and new videos are added every week. Remember, your journey to eating healthy begins with one small step. Let's take that small step together.